Dumbbell, triceps, kickback. Starting with Mark in a seated position, you can have your students do a 2-arm kickback. So Mark is going to do a little lean forward. He has a nice straight spine, and he comes up into a row first. So his elbows are back, his shoulder blades are together and down, and his shoulders are relaxed. And then from his hip, he straightens his arm back, and then he keeps his elbow up there, and he comes back to the hip. So if your students look like Mark right here, A-OK. But what we commonly see is your students, their elbows aren't back here, and their shoulder blades are not together and retracted and depressed down. What we see is that their hands are forward, and they're basically doing a bicep curl right here. So the intent is to work the back of the upper arm, your triceps, and what happens is they don't engage in their upper back, and their chest is collapsed. So go ahead and collapse your chest. And they end up working the front of the arm. That doesn't feel good, does it? No. And we want your students to feel good too. So if they don't look good with 2 arms, you can always try this with 1 arm. So Mark, I'm going to have you place one of your dumbbells down. So you're going to see Mark is doing the same thing, but now he's focused on one side. So go ahead and straighten out that arm. So this is good to do with your students. So instead of having to focus on 2 sides, they can think of just one side, have a little support with their hand on their thigh, and then really focus on coming from the hip and then straightening the arm back. Thank you, Mark. Now I'm going to have you progress on, so come on up. Mark is going to do the same thing in stagger stance. So 1 foot is forward, 1 foot is back. He has that same support, just like the chair, and he's going to row up, and that's his starting position. Then from his hip, he is going to straighten out that arm, and then he's going to stop right at that hip. One other thing that you may notice with your students is you see how Mark's chin is tucked in? Many times when you're doing motions like this, their head's up like this, and that can actually, it won't feel good on the back of their necks. It can actually compress their cervical vertebrae. So we want to keep that spine nice and long, so you'll notice his gaze is down a few feet beyond his toes. So another option with your students is to say, watch me, and then listen to me as I cue you through the exercises. And with some classes, that may mean turning down the music or turning it off so that you can educate them so they can learn before you add music or other distractions. Thank you, Mark. The next progression, as we come over to Darcy, would be doing the stagger stance with both arms. Because again, this is going to take more focus. So she's going to come up right here in that row, and then she's going to start, and she's going to stop right when she hits her hips, and then go straight back. This is advanced. So this would be your high-end experience or your Excel students who are able to keep this wonderful length in the spine. So if you see your students slumped, they're going to get hurt right here. You can see the spine is not aligned, their chest is tight, and it gets sloppy. We don't want sloppy, we want controlled. So they have to maintain, you can look at Darcy, her hip to her shoulder to her ear. We have one straight line. Thank you, Darcy. That is dumbbell, triceps, kickback.